Hello and welcome to episode 28 of the Adamola Bookman podcast, the podcast where we talk about footballers' books. I'm joined by my co-host, John Coughlin. Hi, Johnny.
Hey, Al, how you doing?
I'm good, Johnny. And this week we are doing Ronaldo, the biography. Is that what it's called, Johnny?
Cristiano Ronaldo by Guillem Balague.
Well, we'll talk more about him as we talk more about the book. So the first question we normally ask on this seems a bit redundant today. So what did you know about Ronaldo before you read this book, Johnny? What did you know about him? Did you know much?
Can I change the question a bit then? And I'm going to make a question in two parts. Did you like Cristiano before the book?
Yes.
Do you like Cristiano now?
Even more. Yep, now I'm afraid so, Johnny. Yep, I do.
Not
I like
what I
it more.
expected. Go on.
I do.
Tell me more.
Well, this boils down to it, and you said this to me years ago, 14 years ago, and then we were talking about Ronaldo because I guess we've talked about Ronaldo a lot over the years, I guess, and you were like, if he can't be arrogant, who can, sir? And it's like, exactly. Of course he can be that arrogant. Look at him. He's fucking physical perfection. He's the best footballer that ever walked the earth. Maybe sharing it with one other guy. I mean, geez, what do you want from him?
Yeah, well, yeah, I do stand by that. There has to be room for a bit of arrogance. Gary Neville loves arrogance, doesn't he? He's always talking about that little bit of arrogance as a positive thing.
Well, I think in football, it is a positive thing, isn't it? You don't want some mild-mannered little fella. Sure, I'll just pass it to you. I'm scared. No. What a badass.
And do you think...
All right, Johnny. Well, let me throw the questions back at you before the book. Did you like Ronaldo? You being a Man United fan, of course.
Yeah, of course. I liked Ronaldo. Less after he came back to United, but I did like Ronaldo, yeah. And I definitely like him less.
You definitely like him less? Oh, you've drunk the Guillem Balague Kool-Aid, haven't you? Oh, everything Guillem Balague says is true. Well,
I tell you what, I don't like Guillem Balague. Tell you that much. I was thinking about this. Ronaldo and Messi, but maybe Ronaldo in particular, represents the kind of transition of football from a team game about team players to an individual game and individual accolades, that kind of thing. And Guillem Balague, he loves all this football as a commercial, whatever, endeavor kind of thing. He loved all that stuff. He's talking about his commercial power or whatever, his commercial value. A tweet from Ronaldo is worth 50 grand. Oh, God, not for me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about here because, as I say, we normally start this with what did we know about the footballer before we read the book? And I don't think I learned a single thing about Ronaldo.
Did you know he had African roots, an African grandmother?
No, I didn't know that. But now that whole conversation, are you allowed to talk about that? I don't. Oh, yeah, the stuff about that made me feel uncomfortable.
The quick twitch muscles. I did wonder about that. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, good question. I didn't know that he had that. He had an African grandmother.
Nor did I.
From Cape Verde. But yeah, and I didn't know that he played for our friend Laszlo Balloni.
Oh, the old Laszlo Balloni again, like. No, but I did learn some things. I learned he played for, was it Sporting Lisbon's under-16s, under-17s, under-18s, reserves, and the first team all in the same year.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Nice. That was really nice. He's lived a well-examined life, I suppose, Cristiano. There's very little, and I think you could have written this book without going on all of the various trips that Guillem Balague talked about doing, and all these people he spoke about. I am fairly certain you could have written this book without leaving your bedroom. And it wouldn't have to be 13 hours long, which is what the audiobook is.
Yeah, well, the book, I mean, I read it, and I read the extra addendums as well, and it clocked in at a good solid 8 hours, and a good 4 hours of that was just Guillem Balague trying to absolutely hatchet job poor old Ronaldo. I thought, poor old Ronaldo, poor little old Ronaldo.
Do you think so?
I was honestly astonished, and I think it's disingenuous, and I think it's mean-spirited. I really do. We initially, as in fact declared in last time's podcast, resolved to do Messi first, then Ronaldo. But as it turned out, the Messi book was 14 hours to read and I think 27 hours to listen to. Anyway, something we weren't prepared for, which we'll be embarking on, I think, the very moment we get off this call. So we switched it up. But by the time we switched it up, I'd already read 2 hours of Messi's book. And the contrast and the bullshit that Balague comes out with, it's outrageous. Right from the get-go, he talks about in Madeira, like how there's not really much trace of Ronaldo there, how there's none of the religious iconography that you find in Rosario. But I assure you, in Messi's book, right from the get-go, is like, oh, you go to Rosario, there's not really much to show for Messi here. Like, he's just full of shit. He'll say whatever he will want to say to make Ronaldo look bad and Messi look good. I really, really think this was a mean-spirited job.
Oh, really? Because I haven't been subjected to any of his 27 hours of Messi. I would have had to do about 4 hours a day because I left myself a week. I would have had to listen for 4 hours a day in order to be ready for this.
Well, absolutely. No, I mean, it would have taken me 2.5 hours of reading a day. 2.5 hours reading, I don't got.
I didn't think he was doing a hatchet job, Balague, but he definitely doesn't love Ronaldo either. But he does like to insert himself. If he loves Messi, I look forward to seeing how much he tries to insert himself into that story, because at every opportunity he tries to say when he walked by Ronaldo on a corridor like it's some great, achievement in his life. He does a lot of that.
Oh, he does a lot of that. Yeah, no, I find him a very objectionable character. And I see him picking up his good friend Gabriel Marcotti.
Oh, she's going to say the same thing when he described Gabriel Marcotti as a brilliant journalist. Gabriel Marcotti is a really objectionable character.
He's absolutely the worst. He's just the epitome of that guy who would just make the opposite argument no matter how rational the argument you make is. I remember Gabriel Marcotti arguing against having a good spine of a football team. It's not important. No. It's just, oh man, it's good to have a good spine of a team. Why? Anyway, so a lot of this is, for me, it was a lot of Guillem Balague resentfully presenting Ronaldo's stats and figures, which are undeniable. But the rest of the book is like a psychological breakdown of Ronaldo the man. I just thought it was genuinely astonishing. He continually refers to Bill Bezic, renowned international sports psychologist, for calling Ronaldo a man-child. But who the fuck is Bill Bezic? I mean, do you remember Bill Bezic?
No.
Do you remember him? He was assistant manager to Steve McLaren at Middlesbrough. This is where, Guillem Balague gets all of his clever insights. Well, I thought this, and fortunately, renowned psychoanalyst Bill Bezic backs me up. Hey, Bill. And Bill, what is he, sitting in his shed at the end of a garden going, yeah, that's right, Guillem. He was badly brought up. He accuses Ronaldo's parents of bringing him up badly. It's really, really gross. Honestly, I just really thought it was outrageous.
There is a lot of that, yeah. Let's get into it in a sec, but you mentioned the stats. And I think, obviously, we know a lot about Ronaldo. He's won 5 Ballons D'Or, right? That's kind of a key thing. But just very quickly.
Shame on him, by the way. Oh, he didn't deserve any of them, according to Balague. He didn't deserve a single one of them. Should have been Messi every year.
He has won 33 trophies in his career, including 7 league titles, 5 Champions Leagues, and then some other ones. He holds the records for most appearances, 183, goals, 140, and assists in the Champions League, 42, sorry. Most appearances, assists, goals in the European Championship, international appearance, 217, and international goals, 135. It really is quite astonishing when you see his stats, isn't it?
Well, they are comparable with one other man, but basically, in modern football, no one will ever get close to this again. I mean, people talk about Mbappe big, but Mbappe's numbers are nowhere near this, nowhere near these. And he's been playing in the French league and for a better international team.
What about Haaland's numbers?
Okay, I'm going to now accuse Haaland basically of what Guillem Balague accuses Ronaldo of being all the way through the book. Well, I mean, Haaland just finishes, right? He literally does nothing else. Like literally nothing else. He's to the tip of a spear. He's nothing else, right? That's just not true of Ronaldo. Ronaldo could pick the ball up, run at you, I'm not defending him now. I mean, obviously the man's a knobhead, but it's incredible the success that he's had, despite being like this egotistical fucking idiot that he's described as by Balague GOAT.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get into the book. Did you know his full name? Cristiano Ronaldo dos Santos Aveiro. I didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that either.
Okay, so there were things that you didn't know about him, such as his name.
700 pages. Learn that on page 1.
Okay, so this was brought out in November 2015, originally, this book. So he's still, at the time, playing for Real Madrid. He played Real Madrid until 2018 when he went to Juventus. But the one that I listened to, it was updated for his move to Juventus. But you even listened to one that had the Saudi Arabia bits.
I didn't listen to fuck all, Johnny. I read it. I read the book like a man.
Tell me more about this reading.
It's arduous. So my edition did have the Manchester United chapter and a brief Saudi Arabia chapter. Obviously, the Manchester United chapter gave old Balague loads of ammunition, didn't it? And, by the United days, I'm on board. Obviously, Ronaldo by this stage is just lost to all reasonable thinking. But, so I read a much longer version than you did. I think an extra, 100 pages or so.
It was 6 hours because it was so unnecessarily long as well. So a lot of the time it's, Rio Ferdinand said this, Gary Neville said that. And, there's a half an hour long, again, I'm going on the basis of the length it took me to listen to, but there's a half an hour long preface where he's talking about a conversation with George Mendes. And I don't really know what the point of that was. He went to see Mendes. Essentially, it was a conversation about whether or not Mendes was going to help him along. And Mendes kind of said, you can do it, but it'll be on my terms. But then I wasn't even really sure how it ended.
No, there's a lot of things, but it must have ended badly for Balague because obviously this burned into his vendetta. It all begins like this. Balague quotes Ronaldo as calling Messi, what does he call him? Like a pig or something?
Motherfucker, was it?
Oh, motherfucker. I mean, jeez. Anyway, so this gets reported to Messi and allegedly Ronaldo blames Balague, doesn't like him, won't talk to him. And this apparently begins Balague's intense dislike for Ronaldo. Just intense. Every single part of his character is crushed underfoot. All right, so let's do the thing. So born in Madeira, Balague describes it as like there's old people walking aimlessly around as if that's Ronaldo's fault. It's a sad, dusty place where old people roam aimlessly.
And lower class English people, he said, go there on holidays.
He doesn't like English much either, considering he worked in England for a long time.
One thing that I guess a lot of people know about Ronaldo is that his dad was an alcoholic and he was kind of mostly raised by his mother. That thing that his father sold his debut United shirt for drinking money, that's pretty sad if it's true. But now I take everything with a pinch of salt because you think everything is just a drive-by on Ronaldo by Balague. But
let me give you an example. His dad's an alcoholic, addictive personality. Is that why Ronaldo's so obsessed with being really good at sport? Because he's like ill. It's outrageous. He links his obsession with being good at football to his dad's alcoholism and then throws in some bullshit psychoanalyst who says, yeah, that's right, Guillem.
It's like, what a load of fucking horseshit. If he wasn't a good footballer, he'd be like, he'd be an alcoholic, essentially, is what they're saying. Maybe he'd just be like, I don't know, a solicitor, a dentist.
It's displayed as Ronaldo's aim to perfect himself as a footballer is somehow like some deep-seated psychological fault. And I just balk at that. I just think Ronaldo is Ronaldo. I mean, the fact that he's absolute is why he's so good.
And where do you think that comes from? Like, do you think, we'll say, Frank Lampard is somebody who, like, the only whatever privately schooled, educated lad who played for England or whatever it is. So he's from a well-off background. His dad was a professional footballer. And he's obviously worked quite hard at his game. Do you think it's just because Cristiano Ronaldo is from a working class background, or what is his beef there? Because that is a lot of bullshit, obviously.
I think his beef is that Ronaldo doesn't like him and won't speak to him. I think that's what it is. I think he says right from the get-go that he offends Ronaldo and he takes it super personally, and then he absolutely destroys him in his book. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it could be that he doesn't like Portuguese people. He says at one point Ronaldo doesn't look typically Portuguese, which why people couldn't get an affinity with him. What do you mean he doesn't look typically Portuguese? What does that mean, Guillem? What does it mean? What does a Portuguese person look like? Yeah, just nonsense. It's just weird attacks from every angle, always for no reason. So much Phil Neville. Listen, I'll listen to what Rio Ferdinand has to say. Fair enough. He's done it. What's that, Gary? Yeah, I guess you really had a... I don't give a fuck what Phil Neville says about anything. What has he got to do? Fucking Phil Neville.
Do you think that Guillem Balague, as you know, Irish people are pretty sensitive. Do you think that Guillem Balague has a problem with the Irish? Because Ireland comes up essentially, well, not including Keane, but Ireland comes up essentially 3 times in this book. Otherwise, it's John O'Shea being made ill when he plays against Cristiano Ronaldo for Sporting Lisbon. It's the reference to that statue of Ronaldo that was so ugly that it looked like Niall Quinn. And then the other thing was Ireland is a tax haven, and that's where Ronaldo was hiding all of his money when he was caught for tax evasion. So there was a few drive-bys on us as well.
Well, I mean, the whole Protestant faith got a massive drive-by, if you want to take things personally, lovely, cool, laid-back Catholics, idiot Protestants. Yeah, it's like that Homer Simpson when he's watching TV and there's like a black comedian. He's like, you ever see a white guy drive a car? And he's like, whoa, get out of the way. When I drive my car, I'm like, oh, I drive like this. And Homer's like, we're so lame. Yeah, lame old Protestants, cool old Catholic. The whole thing, like, where he's justifying diving, it's just uptight Protestants that don't like cheating. Oh,
his explanation was Catholics have confession, so we don't care about rules because, it doesn't really matter. We can break them and then just confess and it's all fine. And he says Catholics are, inherently corrupt as a result of confession. And he says Protestants and British people in particular are rule followers, and hence their hatred of divers. That was rule followers.
Go out on a Saturday night, mate. Any town, and see all the rule followers in England.
But then later on, he uses similar logic to arrive at a kind of a different type of conclusion, because he's saying that as a result of Catholicism, Spanish people are envious and contemptuous of success. So there you go. He does like.
Well, that's a little bit of self-analysis there, Guillem. But don't extend it to all of Spain. Just look inside, mate. You're envious and you're jealous of Ronaldo's success because he won't talk to you because you're a worm.
Did you know that?
I really took against Balague in this book. I really did. Just a fun, quick question. Sorry, because it's the most obvious answer in the world. But who's Ronaldo's favourite film star?
Oh. Van Damme.
Of course it is. I clap my hand at that. That's fabulous. Of course, that's his favourite film star, and bloody well done. That was my favourite film star as well, Johnny, when I was 9 years old.
And he's got pictures of him up his house or something.
What if he still does, eh?
He says after his father passed away that he just got loads of oil paintings of his father and hung them up around the house. So it's just a house covered in pictures of Jean-Claude Van Damme. No oil paintings of his father.
He could probably hire Jean-Claude Van Damme just to come round. He'd be delighted to. Yeah, I reckon they get on great.
So, he left Madeira when he was 12 to play football. He went to Lisbon, and he was 2 years younger than all the other kids. And his whole, I guess, his less than scientific psychological analysis of Ronaldo is essentially Ronaldo is from he didn't have a father figure. So throughout his life, he's searching for father figures in Ferguson, Scolari, and then he had this weird relationship with Florentino Perez, who didn't sign Ronaldo, so never treated him as a son. And and I didn't. If Balaguer's kind of version of events is that Ronaldo was never actually happy at Real Madrid, that was totally news to me. But then the other side of it is because he went away as a very young boy, and his father was essentially absent and unable to fulfill the role of breadwinner, the provider for the family. Ronaldo took on that mantle and that responsibility from a very young age. So all at once, he is very responsible and, really driven and wants to provide for his family. But then he's totally and utterly immature and needy. And that's kind of the narrative that is just repeated throughout the book. And it kind of, at one point he says that Ronaldo, he's got a very close relationship with his mother, and his mother essentially has veto power over his girlfriends. Was that kind of how you read that?
Oh, yeah, no, that's very much how I read that. No, well, first of all, he sort of implies it was horrible parenting by Dolores, his mother, to send him off to Lisbon by himself when he was 12. But what did she want him to do? I really did think that. It was like,
but and obviously that's true for like thousands and thousands of children.
Yeah, absolutely right. Here's a line from his time at Real Madrid. Ronaldo, who many consider arrogant and narcissistic, had a son in June 2010. This is not a contradiction, but it had been hard to imagine Cristiano taking care of someone. What? He's taking care of his whole family the whole time. He's such a fucking asshole. Like, he's a bad dad now. I just don't understand why.
Well, there is a lot of weird stuff going on there, isn't there? Like when they say, and now I'm just going on the basis of what Guillem Balague says, right? That Ronaldo meets some girl, there's a one night stand, and the girl falls pregnant and a baby is born. But then that baby is essentially, this is Balaguer's kind of version, that woman is bought off for $11 million, and then they never tell the child who the mother is. And when he asks his aunt, she says, your mother is dead. and then Cristiano got cross with his sister, kind of understandably. And then, so when the son asks Cristiano, he says, it doesn't matter who your mother is. Your father loves you very much. Now, if that sounds true, that's fucking crazy.
All right. Well, I can't really defend that. All right. I'm never saying he's perfect. I'm not. All right. Anyway.
Okay, he goes off to Lisbon. He's brilliant, and he very quickly finds himself in the first team. And very quickly, Lisbon are, happy to sell him because they're going to make a good chunk of money out of him. And I knew that Real Madrid were looking at him around the same time, but I didn't realize that he came quite so close to signing for Arsenal.
Yeah, well, that was one of them, because that used to be a famous thing. And Wenger would always talk about the players he nearly signed. But yeah, he really nearly did sign for Arsenal. What a different world it would have been, eh?
Well, when you think about it, like he signed for United in 2003. Wenger's last league win was 2004.
I mean, if you could slotted that young man into the Invincibles and just got him playing, ooh, baby.
Like in The Simpsons again, when Homer goes through all those different worlds where it's raining donuts and stuff like that. That's essentially what we're talking about here.
But yeah, can you imagine taking up that Ronaldo position, cutting in from the left, Ronaldo knowing, ooh.
He goes to United. He's twisted John O'Shea's blood to the extent that the players all want him to sign. We all knew this.
And this is what I didn't know, because the understanding was he was always signed for United on the strength of that one game.
Yeah.
But apparently it turns out the wheels had already been in motion for like nearly a year at this point. And like Fergie was sitting there smugly going, don't worry, lads, he's already signed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which must have been very exciting, mustn't it, for Fergie?
I do remember watching that first game. It was when he played against Bolton, Ricardo Gardner. I remember that. I remember where I was even when I watched that, just a pub.
Still though, no. I mean, I don't blame you.
Beckham has just left. And Ferguson, I guess, is kind of going for a bit of a rebuild. Initially, he was going to be loaned back to Sporting Lisbon for a year, but they decided not only would they bring him into the first team immediately, they're going to give him the famous number 7. What was Balague's? How did he manage to turn it to a negative that Cristiano is really, really generous, apparently? He's always buying gifts for his friends. How did he?
He's trying to buy people's affection, isn't he? Like, it's pathetic.
Yeah, it's pathetic because he had such a hard childhood and he doesn't have a father figure. So that's why he does really go back to that quite a lot.
He really does.
Though, he was
well, there's one story, if I may, there's one story, and I forgot the name of the lad, but when they were both youth team and they were looking to be signed by Sporting Lisbon, these were the two bright hopes. Sporting Lisbon come to watch them. They're both running through on goal. And this kid could score, but he doesn't. He squares the ball to Ronaldo to let him score. Ronaldo scores. Ronaldo gets signed to Sporting Lisbon. 10 years later, Balague meets this guy who squared the ball to Ronaldo's. Like, what do you do now? Oh, I didn't make it as a footballer. But you've got a really big house. You're doing fine. Yep, Ronaldo pays for all of it. The fucking scumbag.
You just imagine Balague like, fuck, shit. Throws pen on the ground or whatever, you know. Raging.
But does he make you give him blowjobs for it or something? He must do something like, nope, just Ronaldo being generous, the pig.
Had you heard as a kid before? This was surely big news. It somehow passed me by. Martunas Sarbini, who was weirdly kind of Italian name, but an Indonesian kid who was stranded for 19 days after the tsunami and went on to play for Sporting Lisbon. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah, that is a nice story. I never heard that.
When this kid was found 19 days after the tsunami, he was wearing he was wearing a Ronaldo shirt or whatever. And then, he was wearing a Portugal shirt. And it wasn't even, it was one of Ronaldo's teammates, but Ronaldo, whatever, was affected by this and went to meet the kid and took a real interest in this kid. And he got him signed up for like the Real Madrid academy or whatever, affiliated academy in Indonesia. And this fella went on to play for Sporting Lisbon. He got injured and his career didn't go the way it went, but it's pretty damn nice for Ronaldo to take such an interest in fucker.
Yeah, piece of shit, like, honestly. Okay, so there was a trainer at Man United, Michael Clegg. Now, Ronaldo pushed him so hard, he was always searching for improvement, that when Ronaldo left, Michael Clegg just gave it up. He just gave up being a trainer because there was no point, because there'd never be anyone as good.
Yeah, he says Ronaldo was a freak of nature and was just so driven, and he wanted to change his body shape. When he arrived at United, he was quite a callow youth, but it was this guy Clegg who was the one who helped him change his body shape. Yeah,
it was absolutely fascinating. He said they had Mike Phelan, who was Fergie's assistant at the time, and Mike Phelan said he used to stay up awake at night finding ways to improve Ronaldo, because Ronaldo would come up to him every day and say, what can I do to improve this? And he just kept pushing the coaching staff to improve. I just think it's genuinely astonishing, like, the lad's drive. Okay, so I've got the quote from Mike Clegg here, and it's actually 3 pages worth of quotes. But he built up this encyclopedia to improve Ronaldo, every little thing, every single muscle. And he said, at the end, when he retired, when he left for Real Madrid, others came along who said they wanted to be the best, but I didn't believe them. They didn't even look at me in the eye, for starters, because apparently that's what Ronaldo, when he came up, he first went up to Mike Clegg, looked him in the eye and said, I want to be the best in the world. They didn't last long as expected. What should I do with that encyclopedia? Who should I give it to? Cristiano left a gap that I was unable to fill, so I quit football. End-level boss, Ronaldo. Absolutely amazing. Just brilliant.
Yeah.
He's talking about how Ronaldo watched other YouTube clips, and instead of being inspired by the footballers, he just stole their tricks. And then he goes, Bertram Lara explains it best with a story by Rabindranath Tagore, Bengali writer and poet. It's fuck off. You can bring in these fucking authors and shit, but you just hate him, and I know you do, and it's fucking, if you've read a Bengali poet, good for you, but you're still bitter and twisted, Guillem.
Fun fact about Tagore, he's written the national anthems of 2 countries. There's a fun fact for you. Anyway, carry on. There's me trying to burnish my own credentials.
I mean, that's just astonishing, Johnny, that you have Rabindranath Tagore information at your fingertips.
There you go.
Where was all that when we were doing fucking pub quizzes, Johnny? Oh. Here's another just interesting statistic. So this is something I learned, and I think this is actually very, very interesting. It's talking about comparatively the workload of a footballer nowadays. This must have choked Balague, but I suppose he could use it to burnish Messi as well. When Maradona won the World Cup in 1986, he played 29 games of football that year. 29. Ronaldo averages over 70. It's absolutely astonishing what he is and what he can produce.
Oh, the stats are amazing. Like, he scored, was it 50 goals a year when he was in Spain for 7 years or something? It's crazy. You know, he is the Bizarro Puskas, though, isn't he? Because Puskas was the one who scored all these goals. But my God, are they different personalities, Puskas and Ronaldo? My God, are they different?
But then they had different lives. I mean, this is it. It's like telling Tom Cruise off for being weird. Like, you can't help it. You live a weird life. You're going to end up being weird. I just think it's...
Yeah, you are right there. You are right. Do you know what's funny, right? So he's at United, and everyone... You know, I'm a United fan, so everybody loved Ronaldo. Even Keane, you know, this kind of, you know, the ultimate litmus test, I suppose, in the eyes of many.
And more than that, Keane remains an apologist for Ronaldo to this day, doesn't he? Even after the second stint at United, Keane had his back there.
You know, he's absolutely loved at United. They all want him to stay. And obviously he doesn't. He leaves and he goes to Real Madrid. Like, is this bullshit the way Balague presents it? Because he seemed miserable at Real Madrid.
Yeah, well, he talks about the Spanish media called him Tristiano, because trist means sad in Spanish. Yeah, well, apparently, the whole of his time at Real Madrid, he was absolutely miserable, the entirety of it. And after 2 years, he wanted to go back to United.
This is certainly how it was presented. But, this is still... Like, I knew that there was a problem with, you know, personalities in the dressing room, but you know, that's hardly rare. But the way it is presented, like, he was just never happy. The Real Madrid fans didn't warm to him for a very long time. He was having problems with Perez for reasons mentioned. He got upset with Marcelo was one of his friends, for saying that his other teammate Casillas should have gotten the Ballons d'Or one particular year. Didn't like Casillas, had problems with Ramos. Yeah, it doesn't sound... the way he presented it, it was like he was fucking miserable the whole time he was there. But that is certainly new to me. I didn't know that.
Well, there's all sorts of stories. I heard this story once where I can't remember what his name was, a Swedish chess champion. He was famous in football circles because he was
Magnus Carlsen.
Yeah, the guy who's top of the FPL list. That's how I know him. He was good at fantasy. But he went to see a Real Madrid game, and they wrote him up in the program as like, who's your favourite player? And he said Isco, and then the program said, who's your favourite player? And it said Cristiano Ronaldo. Of course it did, because that's what you had to write. So it's presented that Real Madrid didn't try and accommodate him, but crikey, it sounds like they did at all times.
Yeah, and well, if Balaguer's profile of Ronaldo is certainly that if they didn't, he would have been out the door immediately, that he is Mariah Carey in a football shirt. He's just a total diva.
And obviously the stick they use to beat him again and again is that he doesn't track back. And in the modern game, a striker has to track back. Right. But again, Messi doesn't fucking track back. All the real great strikers don't track back. You don't ask them to. And I just think it's unrealistic if you'd ever ask Ronaldo to track back. You wouldn't.
And it's not laziness either, is it? Because Ronaldo's whole thing is his astonishing work ethic. Like I mentioned Roy Keane. All these United guys, you know, Gary Neville, Ryan Giggs, like famously driven individuals, were kind of blown away by this guy's work ethic. So he's not tracking back because he's lazy. That's not the point.
Yeah, he's not tracking back because if he's nearer to the goal, he's more likely to score a goal. Now, obviously, he wants to score goals, and we know how insane he is about scoring goals. But nonetheless, he's right, isn't he? He's right. I do understand towards the end of his career, his quest for goals then started affecting teams negatively. I agree. I don't deny that. But I think slagging off Ronaldo, Real Madrid Ronaldo, is just an exercise in fucking insanity, frankly. Like, oh, this fucking brilliant player who's picking up numbers and awards and like winning titles and trophies like no one else. Oh, he should have been better, shouldn't he? Bullshit. He was fucking amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I loved watching him as well. I loved watching Ronaldo. I absolutely loved it.
He was the best United player, really, in the time I've been watching football.
No, he was unquestionably the best player that's ever played in the Premier League.
Better than Peak Henry, for example.
I mean, Henry did it over a longer period, but if you had that one season, you know, his best season, no one ever played football as well as Ronaldo played football that season. I would say it like that. Is he the best Premier League player? No, because he didn't do it over a long, long period. But at his absolute peak, no one was better than him. I put that to you.
When I think about how exciting it was to watch United at the time and just how fucking terrible it is to watch them now. It's so cruel. God almighty football, you bastard. Anyway.
Yeah, you only had Rooney, Ronaldo, Tevez, Berbatov. Who's our best player? Bruno fucking Fernandes, slapped ass fucking Freddie Mercury cunt.
I failed to mention that Ronaldo's father died in 2005 when he was still at United. And then he went to Real Madrid in 2009. He was there from 2009 to 2018. He was there for a long time, wasn't he? And obviously at this point, it's just constant Messi, Ronaldo, Messi, Ronaldo, Messi, Ronaldo. That's what the kind of whole book is about.
And you'd like to think that Guillem wouldn't dip his toes into the old Messi Ronaldo debate, but of course he does. I mean, it is the most futile argument, but I put it to you. If I get the choice of one of the two to be put into my football team right now, I choose Pete Ronaldo. Yes, I do.
Would you know?
Absolutely.
He'd
do it all by himself, mate. Just stick him up. Just stick Pete Ronaldo where Chris Wood is and just let...
He wouldn't be better than Chris Wood, would he?
I think he'd be a bit better than Chris Wood, but that's my whole point. Like, Messi would not be better than Morgan Gibbs-White.
Did you enjoy Balague speaking to a body language specialist about to get into Cristiano's mind?
I mean, how many body language specialists do you think he rang up until he got one who agreed exactly with his diagnosis? I think, renowned. No, not this one. He's not that renowned. Let's try this one. Do you agree? No, do you agree with it?
Fantastic. Do you know any body language specialists? He is performative, and his gestures are for the world, not for himself. When he fails to celebrate goals, it's self-flagellation, but also frustration that his teammates have failed to recognize his status as the preeminent member of the team now. He isolates himself physically from teammates, doesn't really hug them, and so on. Doesn't rate Bale. Thankfully, he had the body language specialist in to tell us that. And then his relationship with women is strange.
What?
On the basis of his body language. You never see pictures of him with his wife and his son, which indicates that he can't share his son with his wife. His children with his wife, because it's total ownership for Cristiano. But his mother is always there, and that must be a problem too. This is pretty fucking gratuitous stuff, isn't it?
What do you think he'd make of you if he went over like some pictures of you? I mean, like if he had a look at my Facebook feed, look at that fucker there, picture of his daughter. Where's the mother there? Like, look at the narcissist. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah, that was.
I'm not denying that Ronaldo is a narcissist. I'm not. I mean, he's all the things he's accused of, but he's other things as well.
What's the point in writing this book other than he knows it's going to shift a lot of units, right? And I don't see why he had to make it so goddamn long. But do you think he could have just done a better job? What would have been the kind of approach to making this a better book?
Yeah, I think Balaguer's ego there. We do not need Rabindranath Tagore. There's no need for a lot of Bill Bezik's insights. Just write the fucking story. Keep your own opinion out. I mean, we can all deduce that Ronaldo is an art. You know what I mean? It's like just, hey, I know. I want to tell you some information here, but Ronaldo's quite vain. What? Ronaldo's vain? Yeah, and here's a body fucking language specialist and a psychoanalyst to tell you why. We know. In all fairness, it entertained me. So I guess that was a point, but I don't know. I just think Balaguer's thinking he's writing the opus here. He's fucking James Joyce, and he's not. He's just a dickhead.
Yeah, he thinks he's Boswell here, doesn't he? He definitely thinks he's writing the definitive biography of Ronaldo, and I guess that's what we thought as well, because that's the reason we got this one.
But crucially, he hasn't any access to Ronaldo himself. So
hold on now.
why.
Hold on, he did catch him in the mix zone once, and that is the funny thing, because you're talking about his bruised ego, but he does mention about every single time he's ever been in a room with Ronaldo, like, oh, I presented such and such a commercial event for whatever underpants company or whatever it is.
Oh, yeah, there's a bit, advertising. He's like, oh, yeah, Ronaldo's advertising gold. It's hard to imagine Messi advertising a super cool cologne or a car. It's what?
He does say at one point that if the lights went off in the football stadium, Messi would just go home and play football with his friends, but Ronaldo would be too upset because he doesn't have an audience to perform for. How did you feel about that?
I just, it's all right, game. You love Messi and you hate Ronaldo. There you go. You really do. I don't know. Maybe Messi's really polite to you in the mix zone. Ronaldo's rude to you.
Yeah. Okay. Did you know that Ronaldo had a thing with Paris Hilton?
I think I might have known that, but I've forgotten it.
I don't think I knew that. But his disapproving mother, of course, drove her out. And he said that,
could there be anything more 2007 than that? You know what I mean? Like they're both wearing like Von Dutch hats and shit, like no doubt. Like
it was funny when he quotes just, I think, a friend of his to say that women find him off-putting.
Motherfucker. Okay, that's the lowest of the low, isn't it? That, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. He was coy about it. An Argentinian footballer's wife, but I'm not going to tell you which Argentinian footballer. Honestly, and like, oh yeah, women don't like him because the way he plucks his hair and plucks his eyebrows. It's you fucking asshole. Just he spoke to one woman, who said she didn't think Ronaldo was very attractive because he's kind of not very manly. And there you go. Well, you see, he's got an insight into women in old Balague because he spoke to one of them, and that one didn't like Ronaldo. I mean, it's just insane. It was just like, whoa, Guillem, how dare you? How dare you? There's no one like read this book like, do you need this bit? Because this sounds like bollocks. I spoke to a friend. Yeah, I spoke to her. I'll write a book and speak to some friends. I'll write a book about Guillem Balague. Like, I spoke to a journalist wife who found Guillem Balague a very unappealing little man. Like, he shouldn't like his hair. Unbelievable, like, unbelievable.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. He played under all of the big managers, really. Ferguson, obviously. Then he had Pellegrini initially, but then it was Ancelotti, Mourinho, Benitez, Zidane. Yeah, the Mourinho stuff, I guess, is kind of the most interesting in that these two egomaniacs ultimately couldn't get along, which is not a huge surprise, but I guess
certainly not the way that Mourinho plays football. I mean, that was never going to work, was it? Because I mean, that is the very notion of all action. All players have to do all things at all times.
Have you ever watched that Ronaldo documentary?
No.
So I have seen it. Myself and my brother watched it once in Portuguese, and neither of us speak Portuguese, but we just had it on. You can kind of follow it. And there's a scene where George Mendes is they have a birthday for Ronaldo. Ronaldo sleeps in like a perfectly dark kind of sleep chamber with like black goggles over his eyes. You know, it's all kind of
that is what I want, Johnny. That is what I want. I want to sleep in a tomb, a black tomb. Lovely.
Well, that's what he sleeps in. You know those weirdo kind of tech billionaires who are like getting injected with the blood of children and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's what Ronaldo's house is kind of a bit like that. Anyway, there's this scene where Mendes is at this birthday, and he's just the two of them are talking about each other, and just let me say again in Portuguese. So I don't know what he's saying, but you kind of do know what he's saying. And they're just, just absolutely whatever, talking about each other in a way that I doubt you talk about many people like that. And I doubt that many people talk to you in this kind of, either. It's just kind of weird talking about you, kind of like you were dead. Worth seeing, but it's probably better in English.
Yeah, might help. Unfortunately, I speak tiny amount of Portuguese. Okay, yeah. So yeah, that was never going to. I mean, it's so obviously not going to work though. Mourinho and Mourinho had been snide about him previously as well. Like I think he talked about his parentage and like growing up in Madeira. That has a bad reputation in Portugal, right?
Well, yeah, and they used to make fun of him when he was at Lisbon initially, but then he was just so good at football that they all kind of forgot about that. You know that thing about Arnold Schwarzenegger. Was it you that told me this, that he wanted to do the voice in German for the Terminator, and they're like, no, you can't do that because he sounds like kind of a simpleton farm boy or something like that.
That's exactly right. Like, yeah, Bradley Schwarzenegger's accent. Well, it's Austrian, isn't it? And in German, it's just comedy time. Like,
Yeah.
Hasta la vista. So, Real Madrid is ultimately hugely successful.
Well, insanely so, right? So he wins, he wins 5 Ballons d'Or. He wins Champions League 4 times with Madrid, having won it once at United. What's there really to say about the football? It's totally reductive to have any discussion about who's better between. It's pointless. Messi and Ronaldo, like they're like just on a level. Like who were the best players in the world before those two came along? It was like Ronaldinho, Henry, Zidane, those guys, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Just nowhere near. It's like nowhere near these guys. And who's it been since?
Well, that's it. I mean, like Mbappe was meant to be the heir to the throne, isn't he? And he is just not on that level. I mean, he is an elite footballer. We've got lots of elite footballers, but none of them get close to these two. No. Say someone like Suarez. If Suarez had come along at a time without Ronaldo and Messi, he'd be indisputably the world's best footballer. His numbers are absolutely insane, but they're not compared with Ronaldo and Messi.
Or like take someone like Salah, like amazing, but just not on that level, right? Yeah, it's just
no. We lived in a glorious time. It was a glorious period of football. Yeah, I mean that's it. Ronaldo's, Salah's, 35 goals a year. That's unbelievable. But these guys were putting up 55, 60. I think Messi scored 90 in one calendar year. I mean, fuck off.
Yeah, like insane. And just hat-tricks left, right, and centre and stuff like that, those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, Haaland is the one, but there are just asterisks next to Haaland. There just has to be. Why? Especially now. Just because he's so one-dimensional.
His big, luscious lips.
He's a funny-looking fella, isn't he?
He's a very funny-looking man. Yeah, absolutely.
I bet he looked better in real life. I bet if you saw him in real life, you'd just be like, wow. Look at those big, wet lips.
Who did Graham Murty play for?
Reading?
Yes, I think he was.
Oh, come on! Look at that. Ronaldo with football knowledge.
I think he was captain of Reading. But I remember seeing him on BBC because Reading were briefly good and he was injured, I think. And he was an analyst or pundit, whatever. United were playing Reading. And they're asking him, why don't you just kick Ronaldo? Like, why don't you just get... And he said, well, if I kicked Ronaldo, I would get hurt. He said he was just a different kind of physical specimen. Like he ran at the speed of, the trickiest wingers, but it was like a robot or something,
Yeah, that's it. You can't kick him. You can't kick him over because he's just physically a good deal more powerful than you. I suppose Messi had the same trick, but that was more to do with his lower sense of gravity. But it is reductive to compare them because they are different footballers who do the same thing.
And it's good that they're around at the same time, right? Because presumably that, certainly in Balag's profile, again, that was the thing that kept Ronaldo awake in his totally pitch dark sleep chamber at night. Was thinking about Messi.
Yeah, but that's it. And it was a constant need to improve, to be better. And they both must have felt it. And we've all benefited, basically.
Okay, so he eventually gets tired of Real Madrid and Perez's refusal to be the father figure that he needs so desperately. And he goes to Juventus, at which point... Oh, sorry. The other significant thing, of course, is they won the European Championship at Portugal. But again, everybody kind of knows that. There was nothing particularly new in there, was there?
But there is like literally 10 pages of Guillem Balague explaining why Ronaldo was a twat because he was standing on the touchline trying to jockey on his team. I mean, was that egotistical? Was he just caught up in that? I don't know. Maybe I am too maybe I'm too generous, but there's analysis, isn't there? There's analysis, and that famous body language guy comes out again, and there's one point where he admittedly friendly pushes the coach, Santos, but the old body language, he's pushing him away from the team. He's pushing him away from the team, which is trying to bring Ronaldo closer to the team and the coach further away from the team. No, he's not. They're just fucking around because they had fun, because they won a fucking tournament.
But it was egotistical, and it was him caught up in the moment. He is a performer at the end of the day, Ronaldo, and I guess he just didn't know how to be involved without putting himself right at the center of it, because he is a total prima donna at the end of the day. What can you say, you know?
And I want to make clear that I'm aware of that. You know, I mean, I am aware of all of his faults, and the whole realm, the whole Saudi Arabia thing is highly regrettable. Everything he's done since leaving Real Madrid has been pretty much regrettable. He's stomped on his reputation, hasn't he, really, the last 5 or so years. And unfortunately, the Messi World Cup really put the sword to the debate. But I always think that's unfair.
Yeah, I think it probably does. Like, I think the debate, for what it's worth, is probably over now in Messi's favor. But you're always going to have your Ronaldo stands, such as yourself, who are going to disagree.
I genuinely do disagree. I'm not saying Messi's worse than Ronaldo, but I just think that they are a pair.
Tell us about what you saw when you were in the jungle gym recently, when you were reading the book.
Yeah, no, well, there's two things. So I was, there's a local trampoline park I take my daughter to, and it's especially useful, I just set her loose whilst I read the book. And I was reading this book.
She was there for 12 hours in the last week.
She loves it, Johnny. She loves it, so she's happy. Just the water's there, lovely. And 4 kids in Ronaldo shirts walked in. There was an Al Nassr shirt, there was a Juve shirt, there was a Real Madrid shirt, and there was a Portugal shirt. There wasn't a United shirt.
So this is in Florida as well. Like, you're not in like a footballing hotbed here now.
No, but yeah, my daughter came in wearing a Messi t-shirt saying Messi, Messi, Messi as I was reading Ronaldo book, and somewhere
she's sticking with you.
Somewhere Ronaldo was like somewhere Ronaldo twisted in his grave.
Yeah, it is wild. The Al Nassr shirts. I've seen quite a few of them around the place.
I also saw this demographic, and this is something I saw on the internet, and I didn't research it, but it did have ESPN written on it, and they had their fan demographics, and overwhelmingly, Ronaldo's fan demographic is boys under 12. That's they're his biggest stands, under 12 boys. It does seem to track true. Like, little kids love Ronaldo, and me.
But not women. The women are Balague. What was funny was he says that when he was leaving Real Madrid, Ronaldo got really upset because they changed his release clause from 1 billion to 100 million. He was fucking furious.
I mean, this is what's hamstrung him, though, isn't it? Like, the end of his career could have been so much more interesting if he didn't have to make the same money. It's just such a shame. Like, he could have gone anywhere in the world. I mean, towards the end of his time at Real Madrid, when he was still an effective footballer, apparently City and United were both interested in, but the money was just too extreme that anyone could justify it for a man who at that point was 33.
You know, he's all like these guys, and I guess this is not unique to Ronaldo, but they're always kind of assessing or determining their value on the basis of the value of others. So he wants to be paid more than Neymar and obviously Messi, and these are the things that drive him. So if that means he has to go off to Saudi Arabia, then he'll go off to Saudi Arabia rather than going, like you say, doing something more interesting for a lot less money.
And of course, at this point, I'm not defending any of this. I mean, at this point, Ronaldo is just a caricature of himself. But he also wanted to keep scoring goals, right? And I guess that sort of factored into it as well. He could pretend he's still playing in a top league. He's still making the same money. And in his mind, the goals he's scoring over in Saudi Arabia are still as valid as the goals he scored in Italy or Spain, where surely he must know that. Like, surely deep down.
Muhammad Ali fighting the sumo wrestler at this stage, isn't it?
It's like Tyson fighting that fucking YouTube prick. It's just a shame. Yeah, he could have just called it a day at the end after Juventus.
Our friend Lam Agnelli called Cristiano Ronaldo 28 times out when they were trying to sign him. He knew how to get into Cristiano's head and to treat him like the son.
And basically, Juventus have never recovered from that contract, have they? I mean, I think that's why they reside in the doldrums now. They're still financially trying to get back. It was a gamble which failed, the Juve Ronaldo signing.
So how did it end at Juventus? And tell me about the United stuff.
So the Juventus thing, it was mutually a mutual agreement. He'd had enough of Juve. They weren't winning anything. They were getting less successful. He was still scoring goals, and this is how the end of his career went. He kept scoring goals, but the teams that he played for scored less goals, and that was true at Juventus, and it was true at United. The whole United thing, that was the biggest sadness, wasn't it? Like, because he did trash his reputation there. He left in a huff, and I hated him by that time. United,
go and speak to fucking
Piers Morgan, yeah,
all that stuff. Now, obviously, history's not been kind to Ten Hag, but people probably think that the only one good thing that Ten Hag achieved was getting rid of Ronaldo. Sad, really.
Yeah, it is, but he did. I mean, crikey, imagine if Amorim had to deal with him now, like in year 3 of his contract, this gnarled old bitter man flouncing around with rage every time someone didn't pass to him.
Oh golly, yeah. Well, so, like, was there any particularly juicy items in that United part that we hadn't heard before? Like, what did Phil Neville have to say about it?
No, there was no Phil Neville contribution second time around. No, it was brief for chapters. It was much briefer, and it was just basically Balague gleefully dancing around in the mess Ronaldo made.
Dancing on his grave, yeah. My wife is a real finisher of books, and I am not. I would abandon a book as quickly as Ronaldo would abandon a girlfriend that his mother doesn't approve of. I remember once I was in a room and Jenny finished. We were in bed or whatever, and Jenny finished the book. She threw it across the room, whacked off the wall, and I was like, "What the hell?" And she was like, "That was just really, really bad," but she had to finish it. That's how I felt at the end of this book. Fucking hell. It's not even the worst book that we've done, but it was just so long, and there was nothing.
No, it's by no means, but yeah, there's just so much you can read about results against Celta Vigo and Osasuna. Like in the next game, there's a page of describing a 2-2 draw with Osasuna on a wet Wednesday. So who cares?
He's no better at 1.5 speed. I can tell you that much.
No, and now we've got to do it again. Double start. It won't even be fun because I'll be annoyed at what a dickhead Balague is. This one's more going to be hagiography. Oh, God.
Anyway, okay, so what would...
All right, how many controlling mothers? How many controlling mothers out of 5 is this Ronaldo book worth?
What? 2, maximum 2.
Yeah, I got 2.5. I didn't hate the book. I just hated Balague.
If it was half the length, I probably would have given it more. But
yeah, I think that's fair enough. It was an all right read. I didn't hate reading it. But it wasn't a good book.
No, I would not recommend this book to anyone unless they just really fucking hate it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. Give this book to... It was written for Messi.
Yeah.
Balague, there you go. Look, I made sure everything good he did, I said, was shit.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's it. As we said, we disobeyed the coin and went for Ronaldo instead of Messi this time around. But it's Guillem, Balague, Messi, and that is in 2 weeks' time. So thank you very much, Al. Thanks to Dar for the music. Oh, we're on Blue Sky now, Al. So if anyone's on Blue Sky, follow us. We have
hip liberal Twitter.
Yeah.
And keep doing what you're doing, Cristiano. You're all right, lad. You're all right.
Well, it is going to be a bit shitter from here on in. All right. Well, that's that. Let me just stop recording this. That's it, right? Anything else? We don't need to say anything else. That was kind of fun.
Yep, no, I'm all right.
Your body spin like there is nothing in life but dancing. innocent like